I just hit anything willy-nilly and go oops. Alright, we're done with the cutter. Now, you have to clean up your sides because you stick that in a lock and the lock is done because it's not coming out. Trust me, I know, I found out. So, I'll fast forward through the parts I have to fast forward through, so don't worry. When you're cutting these, be careful that you don't cut at a bad angle that cuts into where you need to be on your other key pins. Constantly checking to make sure I'm at the right angle and that I'm not going to cut into the tip of my flat there. Right now I'm carefully trying to catch up the side of this to the angle without getting onto my flat. And one more. Kind of hard to hold on to the key at this angle. Guess I could use like a vice grips or something, but they're not handy at the moment. I may just cut myself up with a file. Apologies to anybody out there who's squeamish. Don't watch the blood. Okay, I'm seeing some minor things that need to be cleaned up. Alright, we are in the neighborhood. Let me put that in, make sure my core fits well with the zero bitted pins, that I didn't overstep. I can look in here and see my peaks in the center of each hole, so I'm confident that that worked out very well. Kind of hard to do with an upside down hand. Alright, fits great. So, we'll leave that portion alone now. And now we have to cut our trough areas, and I will show you that after I clean up my mess here. Alright, cleaned up a little bit just so I don't make a bigger mess. Set some stuff aside and we will start marking and cutting our new lock. On Amazon.com you can order these. You do a search for 3mm brass rod. These are for the hobbyist model community, but we are repurposing them for ourselves. You don't want to stick, you can't stick this whole thing into a Dremel because it'll just flop around like crazy. So, these are the wrong pliers to be cutting with, but there they are. Let's cut a few lengths. And we will make some pins. That'll work. Let's go ahead and cut this one in half. Get a couple of shorter ones. Alright. There's our brass rod. Reach over here. Helps that the Dremel's plugged in. These Dremels are not the end-all be-all to anything. I was like, well, I bought at Harbor Freight a cheap Dremel copy knockoff, right? Couldn't chuck anything up. The chuck is horrible. So then I found a real Dremel and bought it. And guess what? It's still wobbly, not accurate. You have to visually, which is what I'm doing right now, you have to visually line up your pin in there by sighting right down the shaft, making sure it looks as straight as possible. Give it a spin. Touch it with your fingernail. Make sure that it's not wobbling so bad that it's knocking your nail back in your hand, which we're fine. So now I can lock it down a little tighter with the supplied tool. And we'll turn it up. It's going to get noisy here, so if I have to talk, I'll do voiceover, talk over it later. Try and turn down this noise for now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, well, first I'll turn the tip and then explain to you the rest. Okay, looks a little wobbly, but it's centered enough, I'm gonna assume. Let's see. It's not perfect, and if I were not making a video, I would take time to redo it. But, okay, the angle I've cut in the tip, you do want to make sure that that angle is okay in your key and not interfering with the sides. You know, if you got too shallow an angle, then your key is not actually sitting in the groove. So you want to be watchful of that. But at a good angle also that's not too sharp, because you don't want the tip to dull out real quick while lock picking, and then of course that changes the height of your pin and your lock doesn't open so easy anymore. So our first pin, I've got my Sharpie out. I'm going to turn this on low. I'm going to run it in here and make contact with the pin. You can hear it wobbling. And I'm going to mark that pin right at the top of the chamber. So now I know exactly how long this pin needs to be to fit in there. Alright. This way you don't have to have a pinning kit and all that. I know most of the guys on YouTube here have pinning kits and and they can just quickly throw together something. I can't. I don't have that. So this is the way I'm going to do it. And this works also because you can throw anything you want onto the pin before you cut it off. So if you want to serrate it, you want to spool it, anything you want to do can be done at this point before cutting it off. You want to verify for yourself exactly how long that's going to be before you go cutting anything too close to the edge where you believe the edge will be. I use a very tiny needle. This is a normal needle file. This is how tiny the needle file is that I'm using to make my serrations and cut my pins off. It's going to get noisy again. Bear with me. Let's make some cuts. Let's see if you can, I'll bring it down a little bit so you can maybe hopefully see. Of course my big hand will be in the way, I know. Here we go. Now, I want to have a look at it and make sure I haven't, because I know I've cut it long, but I want to make sure it's not way too long, which it's pretty far long right there. So I'm free to take some of it that way, but also keep in mind that I want to round the edge a little. If you look at existing pins, makers pins, they are rounded on the edge. If you don't round that, you have to follow the contour of your core. If you don't follow this contour of the core, you're going to hang up a lot. If you just make a flat across pin, you're going to hang up. Cut our pin off. I'm going to take out the rest of this material. Where's my tweezers? Because my big fingers don't do so well. I'm going to chuck up this pin backwards. Before I do, let's get a good visual on what we need to get done here. Alright, you can see her sticking up quite a bit. So what I can do is I can chuck it up normally and take the tip down. Normally, if it weren't sticking up a lot, I would just take down the top. But that's sticking up to where it's much more than I want. Yeah, so I'm going to take the tip down. So let's check that up. I have my small flat file, and this might round my tip out more too and make me feel better about it.